Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wingcat Sports. It's our Lions Bears post game. A disappointing loss for the Lions, losing 28-13. Blame could go around for a couple places. My opinion, coaching and refs, somewhat player, but mostly I think it's on the coaching today. Campbell made some very, very questionable calls. Defensively, Glenn didn't do the best. But defense, you had a good defense. You can only do so much when you're starting on your 40 and 30 all the time.
I no longer believe that this team, to say they're going to win their division and they're going to win in the playoffs, I can't believe that right now. I disagree with you a little bit about the refs, but there were some questionable coaching decisions that kind of led up to this loss. On the defensive side of the ball, they're a struggling defense. So the one thing you definitely don't want to do is basically let. Hold on, let me start that again. You have a struggling defense, and you put them in bad spots. Aaron Glenn, when are you going to adjust to a running quarterback? You did nothing the whole game. You let Justin Fields run all over your defense in the first quarter.
He actually
and the first half. And then as far as Dan Campbell, and I like Dan Campbell, he does some stupid things sometimes. When you have fourth down on your own 30 and you're 12 points down with 12 minutes left in the game, and you decide to go for it on fourth down when you already have a struggling defense, that shows you absolutely have no confidence in them. And you're just making a stupid coaching decision.
Yeah.
And then as far as the offense goes, you got you again put the defense in a bad spot when you turn the ball over 3 times. One time for a touchdown. I mean, what are they supposed to do? This team has some serious issues. We still might make the playoffs, but I have no faith in them to win a game. I don't.
Right. I have a different take on the defense. I mean, it was 13-13 at half. Yeah, the first 2 series, the defense looked bad. He was running all over us, but they settled down. And this defense isn't very good. We had a lot of injuries, a lot of holes, and I thought they did the best they could. I thought Hutch played really hard, but
they're struggling.
They're going to struggle.
They're going to struggle when you have 6 players injured.
It doesn't help when your coaching staff puts you in bad spots.
No, exactly. But the defense, I don't think, is at the fault of this game. I think the defense played about as well as they could play.
They had some faults, but you're right.
Well, I mean, they're going to have faults because they stink.
You're right.
But
that's why you don't go for it on fourth down.
They're
on
not
your own 30.
Do you expect this defense to stellar come out and stop these guys? Well, you're nuts. They're missing lots of players, and they're not very good to begin with.
The offense probably should take more of the blame in the coaching
Exactly. I thought the defense, we thought this game, most of us, at least I did, there was a real possibility the Bears were going to blow the crap out of us. They were going to put up 35, 40 points on this defense.
It gave you the impression.
If it wasn't for the offensive woes, I think they would have held this team to probably around 20 or less. But you gifted them a touchdown because you're giving them such great field position. Then you're basically Goff, 3 games in a row, has played horrible. We didn't score a single point.
No, the second
half.
Not a single point in the second
about whether
half.
to sign him to a new contract.
You can't expect a defense that is this undermanned and not good to begin with. I mean, they're just, at best they're an average, okay defense. And occasionally they play really hard. They always play hard. And occasionally they come up with a good effort.
Yeah.
But you can't expect this defense, when your offense plays that bad, to bail you out. They're not going to.
Yeah.
And Goff, along with play calling and everything else, just played horrible for the 3rd game in a row. You are in real danger if you don't regain the form you had before San Diego of not even making the playoffs. And I'm worried.
Now, people will say you're nuts when you say that.
No, because what game are they going to win? We're going to watch the Oakland game with Minnesota and see. The only way you're going to make the playoffs, in my opinion, is if the Vikings and Packers implode and give it to you. You're not going to take it. And I had people mad at me when they were 8-2, and people at work, and I understand this. These are younger generation people like my
Yes,
son here.
there's a serious
I
disconnect.
mean, we've been in this so many times, and we've seen this so many
Yes.
times. But when you start out 8-2, is it unrealistic? Is it wrong of me to expect you to end up with at least 11 wins?
in a
And
division.
Which
11
is
wins.
still on the table.
It's still on the table, but I don't see it anymore. I don't see them beating Denver. Sean Payton is a great coach, and that team is playing hot, and he knows Dan Campbell. And I don't see us, unless, like I said, unless we return to the form we had before San Diego. I can't see us beating Denver. I can't see us beating Minnesota in Minnesota. I can't see us beating Dallas at all. So that's the next three look like losses to me, which leaves that last game at home
Probably
that
for
my
the
son's
division.
going to go to, maybe to decide whether or not not the division, whether we go to the playoffs.
Yeah. Now you said refs.
And that is just cruel to me. This has probably been the cruelest. If that happens, that scenario,
Yeah.
This will be the cruelest season in my
Because just because of being older Lions fans, we had such high hopes. Everybody's saying, they're going to win 12, 13, 14 games. The division is theirs. Bank on it. They're going to host a playoff game. This team is different.
I had my rage moment 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
With the Thanksgiving and with and when they played Chicago. Those were my rage moments. After that, I was kind of like, and even a little bit with New Orleans, I guess. But right now, I'm just laughing. I laughed through that whole game. It was comical.
It gets to a point where
how
you're
can you get
happy.
upset? You just like looking at it, going, "I've seen this."
Like
before.
you're deprived of sleep, and everything just makes you laugh.
Right?
Yeah.
And like I said, same old Lions, and don't want to be like that. I don't want to. I want to see this team win 11, 12 games. I think they should, but I just don't see it.
Oh yeah, the defense. We'll touch on defense since you mentioned it. The defense didn't play bad. They actually held Justin Fields to 58 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So if the rushing was spread out because Foreman got 50, DJ Moore got 20.
How much did he get on the first two series?
I think that was majority in the first two series.
Yeah. Right.
So you held Justin Fields rushing wise. He did throw for 200 yards, but their defense did what they had to do. Again, it's difficult when we'll talk about the one missed intentional grounding call that we felt that should have been
intentional grounding.
Right, that's 7 points. That's 7 points right there.
Right.
And you go for it on fourth down on your 30. There's another 7 points right there.
That was the killer to me. You were still in that game until he did that.
Well, right.
14
and
points.
I'll say this
there.
If they don't make the playoffs, if Dan Campbell continues to do stupid shit like this, that's fireable offense to me. That is.
Because in my opinion, like I said, when you're in the game, I mean, I understand if you're way behind and you got to take chances. But when you're in that position and you're on your side of the field, even if you don't think your defense wasn't playing that bad. They had stops. You got to trust them. You don't have a choice.
But they're still struggling. So
and if they lose it, they lose
in bad spots like that.
But that's what you got to do. You got to play smart football, especially when you're close against an inferior opponent. I don't think Chicago's as good as you. But we worried about this game. We knew the intangibles.
Out of all the random games you thought you would lose, I think we even talked about it very early in the year. This was the game. Right. No matter how good Chicago was to start the year, we knew December in Chicago, bad weather.
Season, outdoors. That's right, cold.
We knew that there was a chance the game would go anyway.
And the weather was actually okay today.
Yeah, I mean,
it was just cold.
It was just a little cold.
Just cold.
And I didn't get it. I thought they started after the Bears went up a little bit in the first two drives. We started looking a little bit like our old team. Even though we lost this game 28-13, I think we look better as a whole than we did when we beat them at home. That game was so horrible and just terrible. We just happened to have a great last 5 minutes of the game. But on a whole, I thought our defense played better. I just don't. I'm worried. I don't get what's happened to Goff. I don't understand. The O-line is a possible, certainly a factor. But today, I don't think he was really rushed all
How
that
many
much.
times was he sacked, Harold? You got the stats.
Oh, he got
times was
sacked?
it? 4
Right.
times.
But
4
I'm
times.
saying in general, I thought a lot of times I thought he had plenty of time to throw the ball. And he just could not hit. Number one, Williams seemed open a lot today, but Goff could not throw the ball deep to get to him. The one time he did, it was a horrible throw, horribly underthrown. He was open. He beat his guy. We're going to have a discussion eventually about what to do with Goff or what we think we should do with Goff.
If he does continue to play like this, he's not your quarterback next year. If you don't make the play, if you finish 9-8, Hendon Hooker's playing next year.
And if we finish 9-8 and don't make the playoffs, I'm sorry, but you have to question a lot more than just Goff.
Well, Aaron Glenn's gone, I think, at the end of the year, regardless.
You got to give him something. I agree, but is Dan Campbell gone?
No. You'll have a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, because Ben Johnson will have a head coaching job, and it's going to be a different year next year.
Yeah.
But looking at the rest of the year, if you want to look at a positive, even though it's difficult to look at positives, if both Green Bay and Minnesota lose, if they implode, you're going into a 3-game lead with 4 games left. And if you can win against Denver next week, if both Minnesota and Green Bay lose,
you might have a 2-game lead after today.
You might only have a 2-game lead. But I'm saying this is if Minnesota and Green Bay lose this week, which we will see if it does happen. You will go to the 3-game lead going into 4 games left in the season and making it somewhat easier on you, but you can't rely on the other teams in your division just to lose.
It is
not a way to win.
Because you're going to need to at least win one of these final 4 games.
It's going to come down to, again,
to even make it interesting.
I think it was almost 10 years ago when Aaron Rodgers threw the Hail Mary to steal the division from you.
Yes.
And it might come down to the exact same thing against Minnesota, the last game of the year in Detroit. And maybe the exact same thing will happen.
Right. I mean, this team I understand, like I said, we've had injuries. But today, the defense, I don't think was the problem. And they're the ones that had the most, I would think, injuries. Your offensive line is a little banged up. But in general, like I said, this is the problem with having a quarterback that has to have these perfect situations to succeed in. You're not always going to have a perfect pocket to throw in or whatever it is. And it just seems like Goff is regressing right now at a bad time when we need him to be our leader. He's going to be the key to whether we make the playoffs or not.
A funny thing to think about, because the Bears are getting hot. That's another reason why it was going to be a difficult game for us. The Bears could technically win out because they only play the Browns, the Cardinals, the Falcons, and the Packers.
They're going to get murdered.
And they could win and have finished the year on a winning record if they win out.
They're not
going to do that. Just to give you a little laugh right there. If they win out, they're 9-8.
I'm not worried about the Bears. The Browns are going to kick the crap out of them.
But Browns don't have a starting quarterback.
They don't need one against the Bears.
But, yes, you play the Broncos on Saturday. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter week. It is a primetime home game. Hopefully, we can turn it around for that game, win it. It's not going to be easy. They're 6-6. I don't know even who are the Broncos even playing this week. Let's look at that. The Broncos are playing the Chargers this week, so they're not even facing that difficult of opponent to get ready for us. So we'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully, we can turn around for the Broncos game and at least go into Minnesota with a little bit more hope than what we have right now, because there's a lot of people in the fan base right now that have lost hope in what's going on.
And rightfully so. I think
the older fan base is seeing it and they're losing faith.
I don't know if they've ever, so much as it's losing faith, it's just saying, yeah, we know what this is. And we've seen it before. So if you want us to believe in you, you're going to have to do this because we don't. You're going to have to do it yourselves and show us. But this is pretty cruel to do to the younger fans and even to the older fans who've stuck by this team in a long time. This is pretty cruel. If you don't come away with at least 11, 12 wins with a division, I don't know. This is sad. You should have started out 6-4 instead of 8-2. And then we could have a discussion and say, hey, I understand this a little bit more. They're not that good. But you didn't. Started out 8-2 and built up all these emotions and built up all these expectations, and then you're just trying to make excuses now for why you're not winning or why you won't win the division or why, I can just hear it now once you go like 9-8, because that's just garbage. And the fan base should turn against you if freaking you don't win this division. They should.
They
should turn against them.
It would be very
But they
upsetting
won't.
with where you're at. Like I said, it all depends on how the Vikings and the Packers play this week. You could still end up with a 3-game lead. I don't see the Vikings beating the Raiders, but it can happen. And then the Packers are facing the Giants, so they should beat the Giants, no problem, on Monday night. You probably will end the weekend on a 2-game lead over the Packers.
Good. I'm calling on the next away game, Minnesota. Lion fans, wear paper bags over your faces to show your displeasure.
They'd have to be Honolulu blue.
They're probably selling
to
be honest, they're probably selling their tickets right now to the game because they don't want to go to it.
That's right. We got to do something. No more of this crap. Your guys are going to travel to Minnesota. I want you to wear paper bags on your faces. In shame of what we've seen over the last 3 years.
We're going to end on positive, though. They're going to win next week. We're going to build to a good game next week. We do not need to be negative the whole time. But with that being said, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought about the game, what you think the rest of the season is going to look like. Share the video.
Go Lions.
Until next time, see everybody soon.